I believe, for Ukraine and for nuclear safety. Before I take your questions, I want to give you a very quick overview of how we see the situation at the plant, and to do that, I like to be graphic and clear, so that you can have our best assessment, our best technical assessment of how we see things in a way which is clearly understandable for all. So as you know, we went there with our team. We were all in all 14 from the agency, including myself and experts from the Department of Safeguards and Nuclear Safety and Security, and I was accompanied, of course, by the deputies and the team that came with me. You see some of them here, and 6 of them stayed there. As you know, the work, what I conducted there was an initial visit, which lasted, a few hours. We went on for a few hours. I was able to do many things there, and I'm sure you will have questions about it, so I will not say everything now at this point. Also, after that, as you know, 6 of our experts remain there. They are going to continue the work that we started yesterday, and after that, as I also indicated in Kyiv, and after the visit and the inspection in Zaporiyia when I came back, and at the plant itself, we are establishing a permanent presence on site, this time with 2 of our experts, which will be continuing the work. You know that I have, from the beginning of this situation, I have been trying to describe what is going on and its impact on the safety and the security of the plant through a number of pillars that try to address the things that in any nuclear power plant, in any nuclear installation in the world, should be taken care of. So what I am trying to describe here with a very simple traffic light type, red, yellow, or green, with all the arbitrariness about this kind of color-based description, but what is behind here and sustaining here is a very thorough technical analysis, of course, of how we see the situation at the plant. So I will not be spending a lot of time here just to describe to you how we see it now, so then I can take your direct questions about them. So first is the physical integrity of the facilities. What you see here is a red, and it's a big red. Why is it a big red? It's because there's still, we have been seeing military activity around the plant, and I was able to see myself and my team impact holes, markings on buildings of shelling. So which means that the physical integrity of the facility has been violated not once but several times, and this is something irrespective of the kinetic power of whatever you are throwing at the plant is unacceptable in any way under any safety and security criteria. When it comes to the second pillar refers to the safety and security system being fully functional. We assess it with a yellow because some of them, or most of them, are working and are working relatively well, but there have been interruptions, some of them related to the physical break in cables or in some connections, and still also in some systems that are not fully back in place, so we cannot get the full information. But it's not a red, it means that the activity is continuing. When it comes to, I hope that I'm not, you didn't lose sorry for that. When it comes to the operating conditions for staff. This, as you know, has been one of the main points and continues to be one of the main points of concern, because this situation in Zaporiyia, we have this unique, unprecedented situation where you have a Ukrainian nuclear power plant which is controlled by the Russian occupying forces, creating a situation whereby you have a cohabitation of the operators, people, the Ukrainian people, employees, and professional experts that have been working there, and there is also presence from Russian nuclear experts and also military forces. We don't put it fully red for one reason. And it is that the plant continues to operate, and there is a professional modus vivendi, if I can put it like that. They work together, and the plant, as it is obvious, because it has been operating, 2 units as of today are still operating, including unit number 5, which was scrammed a couple of days ago and now is back in operation. So all the physical conditions are there, and the plant continues to operate. The same code we are applying to off-site power supply. This has also been a matter of enormous concern and interest around the world, because, as you know, if you don't have off-site power supply, the cooling systems for the reactors cannot work. If they cannot work, this can lead to a major accident. We have seen on several occasions that there have been blackouts or interruptions, or 1 or 2 or 3 of the lines feeding the plant from outside. At the moment, there are 2 operational, and what we know also is that when there was one situation of a total complete blackout, the diesel generators operated normally. We visited them, I saw them, I was talking to those in charge of that part of the operation of the plant. Logistical aspect and supply chain. This is important in terms of the replacement. You have to think about Zaporiyia, which is the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe, also as a big industrial facility. As any industrial facility, you need spare parts, there are things that need to be replaced, and so on and so forth. Given the anomalous situation of a war, it is obvious that logistical chains are interrupted. We were quite probing about this. We were discussing with people on site, and the impression that they gave us is that here there are no major problems. There are some interruptions, hence the qualification we are putting here. In the case of the radiation monitoring and emergency response, we have had some complete interruptions, hence the half-red situation, but also some systems are working well, so we do see a mixed bag. In terms of reliable communications with the regulator, it is also an operating function with some difficulties. So this gives you a bird's eye view of a situation which we are, of course, not wanting to banalize in any way. We believe, and I continue to believe, that the situation is extremely complex, extremely challenging, and it will continue to require the permanent support and the monitoring that we are trying to provide now that we are there. So now that I gave you this general overview, I am open to your questions. Thank you very much. Now, yes.
A couple of questions. First of all, what do you know now that you didn't know just before going to Zaporiyia? And secondly, you mentioned specifically on the IAEA presence at the front. You mentioned 6 people who are there now. I think if I heard you correctly, you said something about 2 people staying on for a longer time.
Yeah.
So when does that gone down, and these two people who will stay on, are they supposed to stay there till the end of the war, or are they going to get rotated out? So what's the plan?
Well, I start with the easiest part. So those who are there will continue to be there. The end of the war, we all wish for that. We hope it happens soon. We don't know. We believe that it was important for the agency to be there permanently. And this is a good segue for the first part of the question. You were saying, what do you know now that you didn't know before? We knew a lot, but of course, our trade is inspecting. The difference between being there and not being there is like day and night. So, excuse me. So, many things we had information, including remote data transmission, etc. But when it comes to many other things that are important, it's very different to go. Now, I saw, and as DG, but also my technical experts, things that were being said, and we were able to assess the seriousness of them and what other questions. You can compare it with the inspections in the safeguards area. You see something, then you ask something else. So we know much more, and we are learning even more as we speak.
Okay, so I guess what I was getting at is the fact that you've said you're going to report to the board of governors next week, and so I'm trying to get a sense of how much information you expect to have by then. At what point you obtain this information?
Well, we are getting this information all the time. Well, we have been getting it from the very beginning, and now we are trying to have an in-depth assessment of how things stand at the moment. I expect to produce a report early next week, as soon as we have the full picture of the situation by the end of the weekend, more or less. Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing? I hope you're fine.
We are fine. I'm happy to be back home. Well, yeah, yours is a very deep question, Stephanie. It's a very deep question that has human and psychological factors that I should be very prudent in answering. What I can tell you is that the plant is operating. There is a professional relationship between these experts. They are all nuclear experts, so they know what they are doing. They know what they are talking about, but they are human beings, and they have sights on a wall that is affecting them and their families. So the situation is one of, I would say it's admirable for the Ukrainian experts to continue to work in these conditions, in the way they are doing. They care for the facility. They work very, very well. But of course, there is a tension. There is a latent tension there because of the obvious reasons of the war. So I would say this is something that must be dealt with enormous caution. And again, our presence there has a very big added value, I believe, because we can interact with people constantly, frequently, throughout days. They know that the IAEA people are there. So I think it is very important that we have this presence there. I missed something of your question?
That was the second question.
Yeah.
My first question was in terms of
What is the most? Well, you know, I think we have to be looking at the main points, and when it comes to the main points, first of all is the physical integrity. Why? And here I will not get into that, but I will simply mention that it is obvious that there is a lot of fighting in the region in general, in this part of Ukraine. The military activity and operations are increasing in that part of the country. And this worries me a lot. This worries me a lot. There are references to offensives, counter-offensives. I don't want to get into that because it's not my domain, but it is obvious and we all know it. And everybody acknowledges it on site. So it is obvious that the statistical possibility of more physical damage is present. Let me give you an example. The physical damage to the plant, with the exception of the event on the night of the 3rd to the 4th of March with this fire, the shelling actually started in August. So it is quite clearly a more recent trend, if I can call it like that. So what we see with this increase of military activity is that the physical integrity is more compromised. And with that, I take you to 4. I take you to the power supply, because it is clear that those who have these aims, these military aims, know very well that the way to cripple or to do more damage is not to look into the reactors, which are enormously sturdy and robust, but to hit where it hurts, so the plant becomes very, very problematic. So my concern would be the physical integrity, would be the power supply, and of course the staff. So these are the areas. The rest are things that we can work on: radiation systems, supply chain, all very, very important, all very important. But of course, they have a lesser degree, if you want, of dramatism when it comes to what, if I have to address your question directly. Thank you. Next.
You call the mission now a permanent mission, and how sure are you that the agreement with both sides will be a stable one, and will there be a moment when, to describe the danger, which might be increasing in the next weeks or months, when you will withdraw your own stuff?
Well, how sure I am, we can never be sure. What we need to do is to always try and to improve. If you look at what we have now, it is far, far better than what we used to have. Now I have my people. I was there. We have a big team there. We have people who are going to stay there. This has tremendous value. This is a huge difference. And of course, if something happens, or if any limitation comes, they are going to be reporting it. They're reporting it to us. It is no longer a matter of A said this and B said the contrary. Now the IAEA is there. And this is, like I said, from night to day. In terms of the people being there, naturally, for me, the safety of my people is the first thing. You remember that I said I will never send somebody to a place where I don't go myself first. And this is what I have been doing. Now that we know that we have a certain degree, a system that is working, we have our people there. And it has been very challenging. Of course, we are looking at this. They are in constant communication with us. If something happens, of course, we will take the necessary measures. Thank you. Jordi?
Jordi from RTVE. So just to be clear, the 2 who stay are in the group of the 6 who are there now.
Yes.
And the 4 are coming back
Next week, at some point next week.
And with whom did you negotiate it? Both sides agreed that these 2 people will stay there?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And the 4 will come back the way you came back, or is it going to be a different way?
Well, there are logistic aspects related to that, but they are going to continue to count. And thank you for the question, because I want to recognize the support that we received from the United Nations Department of Safety and Security. We have incredibly good people there that are coming from the most, difficult hotspots in the world, and that they were accompanying us and guiding us through what they themselves recognized was a very challenging thing. So they are going, of course, to continue to have the support.
But does that mean, for example, that this regular updates you're sending, in which you said the Ukrainian side told us this and this, it will change now? It will be
Of course.
Your own information?
Of course. Yes, Jordi.
There are informations that you don't have the access to the inner circle of the facility. Can you confirm this?
What do you mean, sorry, by the inner circle of the facility?
The crisis center.
Ah, no, yeah, I understand. Let me, thank you.
And it's a problem to control the situation there?
No.
You can't go there in this inner circle?
No, let me explain. Every nuclear power plant has a crisis center where certain operations can be handled in every circumstance. This place is being used for other things, but there has been another center set up for the facility to continue working. So there is no, I would say, influence in the operation of the plant because of the non-availability of this place that has been chosen, of course, by the military occupiers to have a place. I cannot get into that because I don't know, frankly. I'm not hiding anything from you. But it is obvious, and we will be recommending that the plant should have its normal operational centers and rooms for that. I want to emphasize this because this idea I have seen in some of the comments and reactions that we were not shown, that we were paraded. We've seen what I requested to see. Everything I requested to see, even as we were going along. When something we thought should be seen, I said, I want to go here and there, and we saw everything. I want to emphasize this because I think it's very important. When we go somewhere, we do what we need to do. And if we are prevented from doing it, we just come back and say we were not able to do it. So thank you for the question. Yes, thank you.
You mentioned that the presence of the IA is very necessary to stabilize the situation. Now, apart from getting the hands-on information from the group who are going to be there, what else do you expect this presence will help? What is your expectation of having them there in terms of stability?
Well,
that's not a question.
yes.
Could I just give a second?
Yes. Everybody has two questions in one, so it's very good, very efficient.
So, there are expertise of three major areas: the security, safety, and safeguards. And now you're leading two people. Are they the safety people or are they the safeguards? Because safeguards was one of the top agenda, actually, although it wasn't really reported much.
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah.
So what would be the constellation, and would that hinder your presence in assessing if one of the three is missing among the two?
Well, what we try, when we put together our teams with the support of my deputies here, we try to have the best combination of knowledge as necessary for what we believe we are going to be doing at the plant. We chose a very experienced team and I can assure you that we will at all times have the necessary knowledge on site, on safety and security and on safeguards. Could be 2, could be 3, but at all times we are going to be able to have that. And so, and the first question was?
How is that going to help to stabilize the situation?
Well, this question of yours, of course, has a subjective factor to it, but I would say that the fact that the IAEA is there, that we have our people there informing 24 hours a day, assessing what is going on, and for those who may have intentions on the plant, knowing that international inspectors are there witnessing and informing immediately what is happening, has, I think, an inherent, very important stabilizing effect. I don't want to aggrandize or pretend that what we are doing is going to either settle this terrible war or give back the plant to Ukraine. This is beyond our capacities. What we are doing there is stabilizing, looking at the safety, at the security, at the safeguards aspects of the plant, in the conviction that if we get this right, this will have some bearing, influence in what happens overall. Hello?
Ukraine criticizes that the IAEA does not speak out clearly in favor of demilitarizing the zone around the nuclear power plant, while Russia, on the other side, welcomes your presence there, while also protecting the site militarily. Doesn't that make the IAEA a political playground for the connection?
Listen, your question, which is a very interesting one, can apply to everything we do. If you look at other situations with other countries that I'm not going to mention now because they are not part of the discussion today, you will find the same thing. When people tend to like what we say, they will praise us. When they don't like it, they will say that the DG is a puppet of whomever, or that we are being manipulated, or that we are never manipulated. We never lose our north. We know what we need to do, and we listen, of course, respectfully to all this noise, but our ability is to, keep focus on what we need to do. We are aware of the comments, and of course, it is very legitimate for member states to expect that the agency or myself will say exactly what they would like what they would like the DG to say. Of course, I have to be very clear in what I do. I have to be prudent in what I say. My responsibility is a 360-degree one. So I have to be looking at all the factors involved and how everything I say will be affecting other important pieces of the operation that we are having. So, frankly speaking, there are enough political players in this game, and there are enough people saying what they feel or condemning one or the other. The nuclear watchdog has to remain what it is. The nuclear security, safety, and non-proliferation watchdog, and it has to do its job, to have its credibility. We respect and we understand that people have these expectations, that we will demand these things. But what we believe is that where the IAEA adds value is in its technical work, not if I am one more of those saying A or B against A or B.
Since we can ask 2 questions.
Yes, you are right.
Do you think the IAEA can now stay constantly there to watch the site and give us information?
I hope we are not going to be constantly there. I hope that normalcy will return. I hope that there will be a day, not in the any distant future, where the plant is going to be operating again normally and with its normal owners and operators, and we are going to be visiting periodically as we did. I think in all its drama and in all its tragedy, this proves why you need organizations like the IEA that can go there, try to provide a degree of stability, a degree of certainty about what is going on. Now, when you will hear that there is an allegation that something has happened at the plant, you will be able to turn to us, because you are doing it now, but now we have people there. People who are going to be telling, this is the situation, this is what happened, we are talking to A, B, and C, or the engineers, and this is what we see. Or we are not being allowed. We are locked in a room, DG. What's going on? And then we will know we are in trouble. So I think that's the difference.
Thank you. Let's move it in.
Yeah, my question is, you said you're technical experts, but for sure you met the heavy armed soldiers, you spoke to them. How was the connection with them? Was it terrifying with them? Were they friendly? And did you maybe try to speak about demilitarized area with them, or was it clear no speaking about this? Can you tell us about the atmosphere with the Russian soldiers?
I would say that the military present, those there did not approach us in any way, were not available for. I asked on a couple of occasions to talk to one of them, but they were not available. Precisely on this issue of the control center, of the crisis center, because I wanted to ask why they were there and if this room could be returned to its normal functions. But it was evident that this group was very withdrawn throughout our presence there. But what we got from our Ukrainian counterparts is that in general this is the case. They are working with their Russian technical counterparts. And I described this situation before. It's not an easy situation, it's a tense situation, it's not an ideal situation. It's a situation everybody is coping with.
Question over here.
I have a question. So you said they are still operating two plants. How is the situation that there are occupants there and Ukrainian people working? How is this possible when there is a war going on?
It is possible, it is happening. It has been happening since the plant was occupied. There is a military force that has taken over not only the plant, that part of Ukraine, and they are in control. The plant continues. Some decided to leave the plant and are not working there anymore. Some decided to be there and to continue in their work. This is why I have been saying that this is a situation that it is not, we cannot envisage this to continue for a very long time until there is clarity about what is going to happen. These people basically are very fundamentally uncertain about the future, as we all are. Do you know what's going to happen with the war? I don't, you don't. We hope for peace, but we don't have it yet.
And second question, very short. Which impact could be, especially in Austria and Vienna, for example, if you compare 86 Chernobyl?
Yes.
But it was far smaller plant, right?
Well, I would say I've heard comparisons, and they make sense in terms of the public interest, because people, of course, relate to Chernobyl. I think the situations are quite incomparable. These are operating nuclear power plants. They have degrees of safety that are immensely higher than what happened there. There are, however, risks in terms, for example, of the spent fuel storage, which is there in case it was attacked or there was an impact there. It would, of course, not be comparable to what happened at that time, but it could have transboundary, perhaps, effects or regional. It would depend, I don't like to avoid the question, but I don't like to speculate too much, because, it could be, a big thing or a small thing, depending on the damage.
Take a few more questions.
Yes.
Did anything surprise you this application? A lot of things you described are things that you know pretty much what we expect or what we've done before. But were you surprised?
Not surprised. Not surprised.
And no more questions? You have one, please.
Please, please. Oui, je crois que c'est un peu la question de notre collègue ici. C'est une question, dès que vous avez un accident nucléaire, si c'est un accident grave, majeur, évidemment les effets peuvent théoriquement aller au-delà des frontières de la zone, de la région où l'accident s'est passé. Dans ces cas-ci, je crois que la question c'est d'éviter un tel accident. Et c'est pour ça qu'on fait cette évaluation, pour vous donner une idée claire de où l'on est dans chacun de ces catégories-là. Chacune.
Vous êtes inquiet après votre retour?
Je suis toujours inquiet. J'ai dit aussi là-bas, quelqu'un m'a dit, m'a posé la question, vous étiez inquiet? Non, j'étais inquiet, je suis inquiet et je serai inquiet pour autant qu'on n'aura pas une situation stabilisée de manière permanente. Donc,
One more question from
Sorry. So hearing from you, I got the impression that you will be there as long as the military forces are present, so that the red dot in number one will not go away unless they move away. So may I understand that IAEA intends to stay until the military forces?
I said yesterday, you are right. The IAEA is there to stay for as long as it is needed. Yes, we are not leaving. We are not going anywhere.
But my question was that is that means that until the military forces move away, either by force or peacefully, either way?
Well, we would evaluate at that time. We had a similar situation with Chernobyl, you remember? Chernobyl was occupied as well, and on the 31st of March, there was an evacuation. Interestingly, that didn't mean that the IAEA left. It meant that we came even in bigger numbers with more help to assist them to reconstruct the safety structures, and we have a big program of assistance, which, by the way, we are also planning to have for Zaporiyia. As soon as we can. Of course, as soon as we can. As I said, we have to be realistic. We are dealing with realities. Let me thank you all for your interest. We are going, as I said, to continue our work at the plant there and hopefully have a deeper degree of information, hoping that this is going to help stabilize the whole thing. On Tuesday, I am going to be briefing the United Nations Security Council about our findings and what happened. I thank you again, and I wish you a nice weekend to you all. Thank you very much for having come. Thank you.
Dankeschön.
Just to make sure. I can send you the transcription. I should
you.